my rent is going to go up so much, I can't afford it. Originally, my landlord had already paid off all the mortgage because it was such a cheap investment. So he's just living off of all of our rental income. I can finally afford a place where I'm safe and I don't have to rely on anyone, and it's amazing. And I feel like that's about to be taken away from me. Why are they doing this to good people? This is a crisis.
In this video, this woman is talking about that her building got bought by a bank, and now she can't afford her rent. With a lot of urgency and anger, might I add. But also in that same video, she admits that she was one of the original gentrifiers of this neighborhood.
I thought I was white. I thought that things were just supposed to go my way. I'm white. This isn't right. This isn't supposed to be happening. Yeah, well, that's life. You know what I'm saying? Because again, and these are the same people who will, flip the finger and be like, all these people in these communities, they're just irresponsible. They just don't want to be intelligent. They just don't want to go to school. They just don't want to make the right decisions. They just want to be gang members and sell drugs, and there's no fathers in the households. And then they come into communities and they're like, well, this belongs to me because I'm white. And then as soon as, a bank buys whatever they live in, or just inflation, or just the economy gets bad, it's like, oh my God, life's a struggle. Yes, life is a struggle.
Hate to break it to you, girly, but this has been happening to communities of color for decades. And now that you, little Miss Gentrifier, it's happening to you, it's a crisis. Like, oh my God, get a grip, girl. Get a grip.
And it's like, look, you better hop in line because we have many hard times ahead of us. The reality is that we've been in a recession for quite some time, and that moving forward, we simply don't have an infrastructure that can support the needs that the country has. As I point out all the time, our education system basically hasn't been updated since 1840 something. Practically, we're still, putting people through school and getting them out on the other side with loads of debt for careers that practically don't even exist anymore. All the while, the price of rent goes up all over the country. The median price of rent in Manhattan is, $4,000 something dollars. Many of the apartments that I have lived in here in New Jersey, last year they were $2,000. This year they're $2,200. The apartment that I'm about to be in went up by $300. Everything is getting more expensive. Meanwhile, everything around us, whether it be our healthcare system or the wages or all these jobs that keep getting shipped overseas and have been getting shipped overseas for decades, nothing's changing about that. So you better get used to, having to not be able to afford where you thought you could.
Do you think in that formerly rough neighborhood in Chicago that you said around the time you moved in was getting better, that the people whose rent went up when people like you moved in felt the same way that you're expressing in this video? Do you think it was a housing crisis for them, or do you think it's just one for you now because it's affecting people who look like you and people who are in your income bracket as well? Yeah, something should be done. We've been feeling this way for a really long time. Yep.
And then it's like, too, yeah, rent is going up, but you're going to have to do what you got to do. Get a roommate or something. Move back in with your parents. There's no shame in doing what you got to do. You can be gainfully employed and spend a summer, spend a year living with your family or getting a roommate. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to do something you don't want to do. You may have to downgrade apartments. You may have to live in a studio somewhere. That's just life. You know what I mean? Because from the sounds of it, you can afford to live somewhere. It's just that where you're at currently, it's going to go up a little bit, and that's stressing you out. However, as was mentioned, you went on to point out that you were one of the original gentrifiers of that building. And now that it's turning around on you, it's like, well, all of a sudden it's an issue. But unfortunately, again, moving forward, we're going to continue to see people struggling all over the country, especially with just things like the cost of living in general. So we're going to see all types of new communities, all types of new movements, especially the labor movement, continue to rise in this country because this is a real problem that people in office aren't prepared to deal with.